The search for riches has been a constant theme in the story of man. Part of the fascination is that most of the Earth's bounty is hidden. Gold or gemstone, iron or copper, coal or oil. It first has to be discovered. That is the human challenge. As though to guard the prize, many of the world's greatest assets are locked away in remote places. The lone prospector who tramped through the final quarter of the 19th century found that the dry continent saved its wickedest ways for the regions that promised greatest wealth. To seek his fortune, he gambled with his life. That was the personal challenge. "100 years later, the resources most prized are those needed by the whole community. They are functional rather than ornamental. Minerals for 20th century materials and processes, and energy to keep a mechanized country in motion. That is the national challenge. We live in an oil age in which supplies have a limit, and the balance of trading power is shifting to those countries with an abundance. Australia is one of the more fortunate countries. It has oil, but with it, something of an enigma. In terms of energy, 82% of our known petroleum reserves are in the form of natural gas. We have a higher than average supply, but a much lower than world average consumption. That is changing.
The prime advantage of natural gas lies, I think, in its name. It is natural. It is not manufactured as gas has been traditionally for years. People seek it because there's a natural source available that way. It's much more readily available, or can be made available at a lower cost. It has other inherent advantages. It has twice the heating value in any volume of the conventional oil manufactured gas, which means that a gas system which has been using the old gas immediately has doubled its capacity. It burns more sharply, with as much heat, more cleanly, and it is able to penetrate into many more markets with much more available in Australia from 1969 than the manufactured gas ever was able to.
Natural gas is still something of an infant in this country, and its uses are widening with its growing availability. Its clean burning makes it ideal for space heating or air conditioning, but the major economic benefits will be to industry. So far, only 6% of Australia's energy requirements are satisfied by natural gas. The world average is more than 3 times higher at 21%. We have the reserves, but a major problem has been getting the gas to the market. Sydney, flanked by the industrial centres of Newcastle and Wollongong, is the last of the mainland capitals to be linked to the natural gas fields. It will draw its supply from the far-off Cooper Basin in South Australia, almost 1/3 of the way across the continent. Where explorers once wandered and suffered, the towers of Moomba now lacerate the sky. None could have dreamt of the wealth that deep drills would tap nearly 3,000 meters below the surface. Today, a consortium of companies operate at Moomba, treating and supplying natural gas to customers in South Australia and preparing for the task of supplying gas to the bigger markets on the east coast.
At present in Adelaide, some 130 to 140 million cubic feet of gas a day is delivered. This is in the order of 3,000 tonnes of high-quality petroleum product that is reaching the Adelaide market each and every day of the year. This treatment plant at Moomba performs a simple chemical treatment on the gas, allied with removal of some water and some liquid condensate, which normally occurs with the gas produced from up to 23 fields, which we can work depending on how much gas is required. These fields contain wells of up to 7, 8, 10,000 feet from which the raw gas is extracted. It is collected here at the central point, and we remove mainly carbon dioxide from the gas. Gas is supplied to Adelaide by a buried high-pressure pipeline made from high-quality steel. This is because this is the most economic method of transporting natural gas, and the same method of transmission, of course, will apply to the supply of natural gas to Sydney in early 1976.
Construction began on the Moomba-Sydney natural gas pipeline in May 1974. At a point south of Cobar, two teams began laying the pipe. Saipem, an Italian firm, headed northwest towards Moomba, and Australian Pipelines construction looped southeast towards Sydney via Young and Gunning, terminating at Bowral. The third contractor, Newham Techint, began the final short section linking Bowral to the Sydney City Gate at Wilton, where custody of the gas will be transferred to the Australian Gaslight Company. The initial project of the Pipeline Authority, established by the Australian government, the line will become virtually an energy highway, stretching underground for 1,300 kilometers. The pipeline will operate at high pressure and initially transport more than 3 million cubic meters of gas a day. Future compressor stations will allow capacity to be increased sevenfold. Hundreds of people work on the project. Like the Snowy Mountain scheme before it, the pipeline has attracted men from many countries with specialized skills.
I've been a welder all my life, practically 25 years anyhow. And this is new to me as it's new to Australia, this actual process. This is the automatic process. It's a little more complicated as far as actual equipment is concerned, but as far as personnel that has to run them, it's a lot easier than the stick welding. They run the bead and a hot pass first. And then there's 4 operations. There's 2 fills and 1 fill and 1 cap on each weld. It's an internal weld head that goes through the pipe first. It runs the bead, internal bead. The ones on the outside run the hot pass. They try to get 125 to 130 joints a day if possible. 2 miles is their limit.
As a starter procedure, we have to check every weld as it's completed. To do this, we use X-ray photography. This is done by a remotely controlled X-ray machine called a crawler. This moves along inside the pipe, and it's positioned for the exposure by a radioactive isotope. We have a pretty fast pickup and delivery service for the processing of film. Developing is done on the spot in a mobile darkroom. If the welders do 150 butts a day, then we have to photograph and develop that many X-rays. Every inch has to be examined to make sure that there's no faults in the welding at all.
Men come off the job at about sundown. They leave at sunrise. They would be out there the best part of 12 hours, I suppose. They're pretty dirty when they come back. They hit the showers, usually into the boozer for a beer just before dinner. They have dinner, and after that, for most of them, it's bed. The next day is pretty much the same thing, and it goes on 7 days a week. So the camp accommodates about 400 people, including subcontractors, engineers, managers. It has air-conditioned rooms. We have 2 men to a room. This is done particularly to reduce the size of the camp, because it's has to be mobile and it has to be moved about every 4 to 5 weeks as the progress dictates. It's a town in itself. It has full facilities for looking after the people.
Food's pretty good. It's like having all bulk food cooked, you know. It's not quite as good as home-cooked meals, but it's good solid food. There's plenty of it, and you've got a choice.
It's a good country. I like Australia, but I like working in the bush too. No, you have some conditions supposed about the food. In the night is not bad, it's good, but at 12 o'clock, in lunchtime, cook is corned beef on ham, some cheese, but it's every day same.
It's pretty good all round, you see. Not really much to complain about, except the isolation in most cases.
The usual would be to come in from the line, probably a quick beer, a shower, some dinner, and then you hit the bed. And with the hours that these fellows are working, there's not too much hanky-panky at night. It's usually straight into bed and then ready for work the next day.
A pretty important machine with the pipeline is the trenching machine, which digs a ditch approximately 7 feet deep and 4 feet wide. The ditching machine is capable of digging ditch through hard soils and in some cases through rocky areas.
After the trench has been dug, the stringers come in, haul the pipe in and place it alongside the trench. This is quite an important job and quite a big one when you consider that when the job's finished, about 250,000 tonnes of steel pipe will have to be placed out this way. So it's quite a big job.
Pipe began arriving for the job as early as mid-1973. Special steel was needed, and most of the pipe came from Japan, although 13% was locally supplied. Stockpiles were established at strategic places like Cobar, Mingary, Lee Creek, Uabalong, and Maimaru near Young. At these depots, and before it was trucked to the line, the pipe had to go through several processes to prepare it for its long life underground. Pipes are delivered in 40-foot sections, and before stockpiling, 2 are joined to form one 80-foot length, each of which weighs 4,500 kilograms, or 10,000 pounds. As a final process before the pipe is stockpiled, the interior is thoroughly cleaned by grit blasting and then spray painted with an epoxy coating. In addition to preventing corrosion, the coating will assist the gas flow by reducing friction once the pipeline is in operation.
The pipe, when it's stockpiled, wherever they bring it from, like I always said, it might be there 6 months, it gets rusty. And you have to remove all the scale and the rust. And we put on the cleaning machine. We clean the pipe and prime it. That's the first operation. The second operation, that's the hot tar, is 215 degrees, the tar when it goes into the machine. That's pumped through the machine and goes all around the pipe with a jet. After the rolls on the back, you've got the fiberglass goes on first. After that, you've got the tar impregnated asbestos. And the smell is one of the worst jobs, is the fumes and the smoke. Everybody has to wear a mask at all times and the white cream around your face to stop you getting burnt. On a cold day, it's not too bad because the pores of your skin are closed up. But on a real hot day when you're sweating in the height of the summer, it burns you to hell like. The guys, we wrap around 2 miles a day, 2.5 miles a day. So the guys, the time they get to Moomba, they'd have walked 450 miles or 460 miles.
The warning from the electronic metal detector indicates a flaw in the coating. It has to be fixed because the pipe will be under high pressure throughout its life and buried for its entire length. The exposed metal may introduce corrosion, and that's a risk that can't be taken. Safety, in fact, is of critical importance in a project such as this. The pipeline may eventually be out of sight, but it can't be out of mind. It has to be monitored, and its mobile, compressed and volatile cargo checked constantly. A $5 million system of microwave links is being installed, with a control center at Young monitoring such things as flow rates, pressure, temperature, and even the effectiveness of a corrosion protection system. The information is transmitted automatically from 30 towers sited along the line.
Is over a space of about, roughly right now, about 30 miles. But you've almost got to keep it that far out. If you don't, say you're up close on your pipe stringers and you have a rain, the trucks can't haul the pipe, well then other operations get shut down. So as a result, we try to keep enough space between each operation that if you have something happen bad for a day or so, it won't affect the whole job. Originally, it came from Kentucky, and here I'm the chief inspector. We were the William Brothers CMPS, and we're doing the inspection here for the Pipeline Authority.
We started south of Cooper, about 90 miles from the Barrier Highway, And as we gradually got north and the weather changed this summer, we started getting the dust and the mud and the flies. And the flies are the worst because they sort of pest you everywhere. You just can't get them out your eyes or your ears or your nose. When you're on foot, we cover every foot of it by foot. The blokes behind you got machines revving along behind you. They just, cameras no problem for them. They just sit in there pushing. We turn around and there they are thundering along behind us. And it's all go. You sort of can't afford to stop. Every now and again we're sort of coming through one of these so-called Aboriginal grounds and that, and we've got to make sure nobody gets out of them, and seem to be afraid that we're going to go digging up them in Aboriginal graveyards or something like that. But so far we haven't come across anything like that that's really historical value or anything like that.
Oh, here's one.
To ensure preservation of Aboriginal carvings or artefacts, the New South Wales government sent a field team of archaeologists ahead of the bulldozers.
Well, this is the sort of thing that we're wanting to preserve. It's quite a good example of rock art in this area. And it seems to be well preserved and it seems to be quite authentic. There is now legislation which makes it illegal to destroy or damage Aboriginal relics. And so it's important that we find these and make sure that anything really valuable, really important, isn't destroyed. We try to work far enough ahead of the machinery, say 50 to 100 miles, to give us enough time to find any valuable sites so that we can take some measures to protect them or salvage them if necessary.
While one team was clearing its 26-metre wide easement through semi-desert country and finding things hot and dry, the other, to the southeast, was finding conditions that were noticeably different.
Conditions aren't too good here at the moment. We've had about 20 points of rain in the last 12 hours, and if we get another 30 points, we won't be able to move.
Well, the pipe's put underground for several reasons. Really, one is for safety. No problem of anybody running into it or somebody shooting through it or anything like that. And another reason, the farmer and the landowner, they like it buried because it doesn't hinder the passage of livestock passing through.
The Pipeline Authority buried its handiwork for another reason, to ensure the landscape suffered minimum scarring.
This is where the environmental show part starts. Over most of this route we're going to rehabilitate. That is pastures or orchards or even land which is grazed over. We can rehabilitate so there's no erosion and the landform is restored. Then we rehabilitate to original condition. We call that restoration. The techniques we use, we start long before this, right at the beginning. We save the parts of the plant left in the ground because in Australia they shoot again. We call that rootstock retention. And we save all of the brush and the seed contained in it, and that's respread.
The Moomba to Sydney project will result in an asset that would have been beyond the imagination of our first settlers. a highway of flowing energy, buried underground and linking a desert with our biggest city. The thought belongs to the Romantic Age, but nothing else. The people involved, methods used and motives are all essentially practical. We need energy, and the natural gas pipeline is the first stage of a national plan to make greater use of one of our most abundant resources. Its coming will aid industry, conserve overseas funds, and make us more self-sufficient.
My personal aim in this is the same aim as every other person working on the pipeline. The creation of 900 miles of safe gas line from Moomba to Sydney, a public utility. When everybody's finished their job, this wound vanishes and becomes unidentifiable from the rest of Australia. We've lost nothing and we've gained a pipeline.